that you're single until married,
Absolutely.
even if we were boyfriend girlfriend.
Absolutely.
So if I said, "Yo, my boundary is no hanging out with this dude who I don't know,"
As a girlfriend, you don't have that ability to tell me what I can and cannot do because there's no ring on my finger and because there's someone out there that's going to give me the full throttle of what I want. I believe that.
but if we're together, why would you want to break
Okay, so
that?
let me reverse the question, right? So we're together, right? And you have a fan base of female friends, right? Will you hang out with them?
Not if it's something you didn't like.
Okay, so I like your thought process. A lot of guys won't think like that.
Initial thoughts.
I mean, she was within her boundaries to say how she feels. So
Agreed. Um, just to say this real quick, nobody's entitled to make you live however they want you to live based on how they want to live. Here's the problem, or where the conversation starts to open up a little broader. She says, for her personally, and I don't know if a lot of women think like this, but for her personally, she says that me being a girlfriend does not give you the right to impose your level of boundaries on me. So if I want to have people outside of you still in my life, whether or not they like me or they don't, you don't have no say so in that until you say I do, or will you marry me? And there's a lot of people have pushback with that. So I want to break down real quick why her preferences they're fine for her, and why there's so much issue with what she said. So can you elaborate on why, it's okay for her to feel how she feels about this versus another person coming into her life and saying, look, we dating, this is supposed to be exclusive. What's up? How are you telling me, all right, we're not married? So does that mean that I can step outside of the relationship too? Like, how does this work?
I mean, it's a no-brainer, man. If that's what the person wants, I mean, you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do or that you want them to do. So, I mean, if that person is telling you that, then you have two choices: stay or go. I mean, I don't. It's not really. It's not a big discussion there. If you're not happy or you don't want to live that type of lifestyle with somebody, then leave. You can't tell somebody how they want to live, whether you got a ring or whatever the case may be. You just can't. I mean, if that's not conducive for you, then why are you still there in the relationship? That's obviously something that you don't want any parts of. So again, we keep trying to take things off of the individuals, and we're thinking of the hive mind and the masses and what everybody's telling us to do. If that person is not interested in solely being with you, then you got to put that ego to the side and pack your belongings and move on.
I agree. Um, I'm trying to be careful with how I word this. And I
Just
say
say it,
this,
man. We can clean it up. Just say it.
like, the way that she's talking, her ass is going to be single for the rest of her life, because if she if she's saying, all right, we in a relationship, but he can't have girls on the side. Like, what's the conversation? What the fuck did y'all talk? Like, for real, what did y'all talk about at the beginning of this shit? That shit, like, it's confusing. I don't care. I don't care if you say, all right, you got friends on the side and stuff like that, and you ain't leaving no friend. I'm gonna just be like, all right, well, shit, I'm about to do the same. We just go and keep it like that.
See, that's what I'm confused about. Why are you saying that you about to do the same versus just leaving and finding somebody else? I don't get it.
Because maybe you still just want to crack.
So no self-control. Because there's reasons, man. We can't keep, just making excuses for why we keep making bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, you can solely do that. 100% you can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. But just identify why you continue to do so is what I'm saying. So
I'm not saying me personally, but I'm saying like
absolutely.
Like an older me, or I mean a younger me, or someone in this generation, they're gonna look at it like, well, shit. I like you, but we have an understanding that this is an open relationship. If that's the conversation, of course. This doesn't sound like it's an open relationship, but if you tell me, and I do have the option to leave, but I still want to crack, so I just don't have to take you serious anymore.
Right.
I can just move according to how you decide to move with your own personal situation. So if you got people on the side, or you got your friend group and all that, then I don't have to really fall in love with you. I ain't got to invest in you and do this and do that. I can keep you at a distance, but still, that's irresponsible, of course. But everybody got their own.
Well, it's Monday. So last week, pick any day of the week, we were talking about red flags. So today, that would be identified as a red flag if that's not something that you identify with. You know what I mean? I think we just got to focus more on making better decisions, man. If you still, thinking with your penis and you still want to crack, that's completely up to you. So then we look towards, your mindset and how you go about looking at things. You're engaged in a relationship and somebody's openly telling you that that's what they're about, and it's not something good. So we identify that you've identified a red flag and you're moving past it. Okay, great. So you're not a good decision maker. So you still want to pursue, that type of person. So, what is it about you that wants to pursue that type of person? Not you personally, just, hypothetical in general. So, that goes to the mindset of the people that's out there. And also looking at the video, they have a younger demographic. So then it just goes to see what type of people that they have in their lives, and what type of, role models, parents, siblings that are setting those type of examples for them. So I would say on both parties, the young lady for saying that she wants to do that, and the individual who would engage in a relationship with that person. So, you know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. You just got to look at the mindset of the two individuals that want to engage in that type of relationship. It could be nothing wrong with it, but if that's not what you're seeking and you still want to crack, as you say, then, it sounds like you got bigger issues, man. Not you personally.
No, I know. I know what you're talking about. And like we're addressing the other party for deciding, well, I'm gonna still slide in, but we're not addressing the fact that what she just said was kind of like, man, I don't know what the fuck a relationship is. The relationship to me looks like I can still do what the hell I want, and if you want to be a part of my program, then you're gonna have to accept the fact that I got other men around me. And she said she prefers men. She don't even like being around women. That's another thing that I want to address. But she don't even keep females around her. So why do you need a whole bunch of dudes around you in a relationship at all in the first place?
Well, that could be because of how she was raised, right? It could be if she was raised around a lot of men, a lot of uncles, a lot of brothers, cousins, male cousins, different dynamics. A lot of, and it's not something that's uncommon today because, a lot of estrogen in the room. A lot of women tend to be, they talk about themselves. They be more catty. You know what I'm saying? Versus going to hang out with a dude, they can be themselves, not be judged by other women. So that's something that's real popular today. And it's also a lot of men find that, being around a lot of women also is more popular because also being around other women, you learn how to maneuver with your lady. You know what I mean? Some things that she may or may not talk about or share with you. So you can learn insights from both genres. But, again, it just depends on what the intent and the objective is.
True or false? A man being around women looks better than a woman being around all men.
What do you mean by looks?
The aesthetic of it.
Yeah, so again, that subjectivity, for one, it depends on like what type of environment. Is it a work environment? Is it a lounge setting, social setting? What type of environment, what type of activities are being taking place. So I think that varies. It may look, the perception may be bad if a woman's in a social environment, i.e. a bar, networking event with a lot of dudes, not a lot of women, versus a man being in one. But it's all about perspective. I don't think it matters one way or the other. It just depends on how mature you are and how you navigate within that organization.
What's more likely to be true? A group of men being around a woman who wants to fuck, or a group of women being around a man that wants to do the same?
I can't speak to people's mindset, but humans just being humans, depending on the setting, the right vibe, both things could be true.
The reason I'm asking the question is because she clearly has been taught by somebody to believe that there's things that you have to give up in order for me to perform to this certain standard. You can't be a wife if you don't act like a wife in a relationship. Or is that impossible? Because I don't believe that you can't be a girlfriend, pick and choose when and where you want to be this and be that, but then expect somebody to say, will you marry me?
Yeah, I mean, that's all in the conversation, man. You talk about, like the young man mentioned boundaries in the video, so that's something that you talk about, boundaries. You talk about, what type of interactions, engagements that you're comfortable with, that you're not comfortable with. But again, it's not on that person to necessarily concede to what you're comfortable with. They might have had a different background, different experiences. And different experiences, shape different outcomes in the future for people. So you may be on the same path, but your objectives may be different. Like you say, you're talking about the definition of a wife. Somebody else's definition of a wife might be different. So that's something you need to have a conversation about. Or just, in passing, when you meet somebody, whatever short types of conversations you're having, that's should be predicting your future. Do you like these type of things? You say yes. Okay, we end up doing those type of things. That's how it goes. So, or if you don't, you pivot and you don't do those type of things. So that way, it won't put you in a situation where, you're giving somebody a ring and you necessarily don't like the things that they like. So, but again, you're talking about young people, man. They was young as shit in that video. So you might be asking for too much.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. Listening to her talk, I could tell social media raised her to some extent, because no adult is talking like that unless you still ain't came out of high school mentally. I mean, like you 50 years old and you still want to be the captain of the football team and the fucking queen of the prom, and you still act like that. But nah.
So one thing that you just said, right? Because it's important. You said be 50 years old and still acting like something. When people go through trauma, what happens is this depends on what age they go through trauma. And if they don't heal and get over that trauma, they're still stuck at that age, that initial trauma